Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans! I'm Kelly One Shot, and this is my dramatic reading of The Batman Who Laughs number 3, The Grim Knight number 1, from DC Comics. We start this story off in the sewer systems beneath Gotham City, where we see the Grim Knight, a nightmare version of Batman from an alternate Earth, walking through the underground labyrinth. But he's not alone. He has a prisoner with him, Commissioner Jim Gordon. And as the two make their way through the dark tunnels, Jim Gordon still has the courage to say, If there's any part of him in you, you can't be all bad. Don't talk. I'm your friend, your ally. Keep moving. You don't have to do this. Whatever he's making you do to me, we can find a way out, together. That's exactly what I'm doing. The hell are we anyway? I can smell the sewage. We're under the city. But where? The Grim Knight knows the answers. Knows where each wire in the hubs they pass begins and ends. The serial number of each meter. He knows where they are. Crime Alley. Where it all began. It happened so quickly. Bruce had barely seen the man moving through the dark. Barely understood why his father stepped out in front of them. Until the loudest noise he had ever heard ripped his life away, and time seemed to freeze. To stretch into eternity. He thought he'd be trapped in that moment forever. And perhaps, on another world he would have been. But not on this world. On this world, he heard a stumble in the dark, and the clatter of hot metal against the ground. We then see the man who just murdered the Waynes, Joe Chill. He's on the ground looking for something as he shouts, Where the fuck did those pearls get to? Then Bruce looks down at the gun, and Joe says, Run, kid! Just run! You hear me, kid? Scram! But Bruce shouts, No! Then Joe says, The hell do you think you're... Fuck! Then Bruce picks up the gun, and Joe yells, Kid! You don't have to! But it's too late. Bruce Wayne is holding the gun, aimed at Joe, and Bruce shouts, Shut up! Shut up and die! Then, in that moment, Bruce Wayne shoots and kills Joe Chill, forever changing the young man's life. We then return to the present day, where we hear the Batman Who Laughs, talking to the Grim Knight through a comlink, as the Batman Who Laughs says, It's me! Report in! You're off route! I told you not to play with your food! You hear me? I said! Then Jim Gordon says to the Grim Knight, That was him! That other Batman! The one who laughs! See? Him I get! A Batman corrupted by the Joker, turned evil. I understand that. But you I don't get. I've watched Batman do ludicrous things to avoid firing a gun, even when it's the most logical way to go. But with you, it's the first answer. You kill with the efficiency that the real Batman doesn't. Whoa, how the hell does that happen? It happens deliberately. It happens with training, with discipline. He traveled the world learning what he could from every assassin and soldier of fortune he could find. But he knew it wasn't enough. He needed a way to kill evil. A weapon that would make him Gotham's own angel of death. He needed more than the guns, the knives, the bullets. Something larger than all of that, and far more deadly. Then suddenly, a bat flies in through the window, and Bruce Wayne kills the bat. Then he says, Yes, father, I shall become a bat. Some time later, we see the Grim Knight in the homes of Gotham's wealthiest and most corrupt. Then, as smoke fills the room, the Grim Knight tells them, Ladies and gentlemen, you have eaten well. You have eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit. Your feast is over. From this moment on, no one is safe. It was the beginning of Batman's war. The men and women in that room had funded and protected the criminal element in this city. Without them, the city erupted into a kind of chaos from which he could instill order. He took down Falcone. He took down Zuko. All of the crime bosses of Gotham fell one by one, without any of the institutional support. We then return to the present day, beneath the streets of Gotham, where the Grim Knight continues to lead Jim Gordon through the Gotham sewer system. Then Gordon says, So the Joker screwed up that other Batman on his world. Who was it for you? Two-Face? The Owls? I could see going full military for someone like Bane. Then the Grim Knight punches Gordon and shouts, Stop talking! In his time, he never faced the kind of colorful enemies the Batman of Otherworlds did. There was never a murderous clown. though he remembers killing a man in a red hood at Ace Chemical. As the Grim Knight rose, he faced an enemy more focused, more determined than any other Batman from any other world. Then, as the Grim Knight pushes Jim Gordon towards the door, he tells him, "We're almost there." "Almost where?" "You wanted to know the man who made me what I am. Come and meet him. He's just ahead." We then go to a moment from the Grim Knight's past, to the GCPD of his Earth, where his world's Jim Gordon is working on a case. Then we see Gordon point at a board, which has 4 victims on it: Oswald Cottlepot, Roman Cyanus, Waylon Jones, and the Red Hood gang leader. Then Jim Gordon says, "We've had another 4 major casualties in the last week, all major figures in the criminal world. The GCPD needs to start taking the threat Batman represents to this city seriously." Then Detective Flash takes a sip of his coffee and says to Gordon, "Come off it, Gordon. If anything, this Bat character is making our jobs easier. We get wrapped in red tape anytime we get close to meting out the kind of justice this Batman brings. Come on, Jim. What wouldn't you give to be able to walk straight up to the bad guys and shoot them in the head without a second thought?" Then Gordon replies by saying, "I'm not denying there's evil in the world, Flash. But why does this man get to draw the line? Why does he get to play the executioner? This isn't justice. This is terror. And the city is going to understand that soon enough. I have a plan." Later on that night, on top of the GCPD, we see the bat signal shining in the night sky. Then Gordon says, "Any minute now." Then one of his officers says, "You sure this is gonna work, Lieutenant?" Then Gordon replies, "It better." Then suddenly, we see 2 gunshots hit the bat signal. Then Gordon shouts, "Take cover! He's here!" Then suddenly, we see the Grim Knight pop up behind Gordon and tell him, "I thought you were smarter than this. Why draw me in with a light?" Then Gordon replies, "It's not just a light, it's a magnet. Now!" We then see the Grim Knight being magnetically pulled to the bat signal, as Jim Gordon stands by and says, "It took ages, but we found the arsenals you planted around the city. All your little ammunition dumps for this war of terror. My men just got the order to raid each of them. They're taking them now. I have a detailed record of every murder, Batman. Every single one. The rest of the force may have gotten sloppy, may have even encouraged this war of yours, but I've been filing the paperwork. We're going to unmask you here, take you into custody, put you in front of a judge, and finally hold you accountable for the horror you've unleashed." Then the Grim Knight turns and says to the GCPD, "How much did Gordon have to pay you all to stand here with him? You know whose city this is, and you can take off the masks. You're idiots if you don't think I know each of your names." Then Gordon takes off his glasses and says, "You're bluffing. I just spent the entire city's slush fund on Wayne Enterprises tech to mask their identities." Then the Grim Knight smiles and says, "Money well spent." This causes Gordon to have a confused look on his face, as he says, "Why the hell are you smiling?" Then one of the GCPD says, "Jim, my chest! It feels hot!" Then suddenly, all the officers' chests start to explode as they fall dead around Gordon, causing him to shout, "What? No!" Then the Grim Knight shouts, "Vocal disarm, code 144520. Then Gordon yells, You have the right to remain silent." Then the Grim Knight replies, "Yeah? Tell me, Jim. Tell me my rights, and I'll tell you yours. You have the right to bribe an army of corrupt officers to follow you on a fool's errand. You have the right to send them walking to their deaths in each of those arsenals you thought you were raiding." Then Gordon yells, "Oh God!" as several bombs go off around Gotham City. Then the Grim Knight attacks Gordon as he shouts, "You've given me a good fight, Jim, but you're in my way. In the way of what this city can be. Someday you'll thank me for this." We then hear a message being broadcast from the GCPD blimps in the sky. "Lieutenant Gordon, come in. We've lost control of the blimp's navigational systems. The full fleet is dive-bombing towards 2 targets in the city, Blackgate and Arkham Asylum. Oh God, the hydrogen cells are going to kill every criminal in Gotham, sane or insane. We can't reach them to tell them to evacuate. This is the only open line. Help us! Please! We then return to the present day, in our universe, where Jim Gordon is tied to a chair. Then he says, "What? Where am I?" Then the Grim Knight replies, "In another world. This is where you plotted to end my life, Jim. To take my city away from me. It seemed appropriate." Then Gordon looks up at the video screens, which show 3 locations: his office, his house, and Barbara's house. Then Gordon says, "These feeds, my office, everywhere my family and I have lived for the last year." Then the Grim Knight says, "Yes, I've been watching you. The Batman who laughs had orders. The hateful things he had planned for you and your family. They would make your skin crawl, Jim. The very thought of what he had in store for you. It took work to change his mind, to make him see that my way was better." Then Gordon looks up and says, "Why are you doing this? What the hell do you want?" Then the Grim Knight points a gun at Gordon and says, "To save you, Jim." We then see a moment from the Grim Knight's universe, where a family walks out from seeing a movie, and a man in a hood follows behind them with a gun as they walk into a dark alley. The Grim Knight remembered then, the good days, what Gotham had become, how it felt to wield it, how it felt to make sure what had happened to him would never happen to another. Then the man in the hood points his gun at the family, and the wife shouts, "Oh! Oh God!" Then suddenly, a Wayne Tech satellite in outer space takes aim at the man in the hoodie, instantly killing him. Then the kid cries, but his father tells him, "Stop, Roger! Stop crying! This was good, you know? We have to smile, right? The Batman is always watching. We need to say thank you! Thank you, Batman!" We then go to the Grim Knight's Batcave, where he's watching multiple video feeds. Then his Alfred walks in and says, "Sir." Then the Grim Knight replies, "Quiet, Alfred. Watch a minute with me." Then Alfred says, "Sir, wait." Then the Grim Knight says, "A child predator, a corrupt judge, both dead. This city is my scythe, Alfred." Then Alfred says, This isn't what I agreed to. This isn't what your parents would want." Then the Grim Knight tells him, "If you leave." Then Alfred hangs his head low and says, "You'll activate the implant in my neck and kill me. I know, but I'm leaving all the same. I love you always, but I'm done." Then the Grim Knight goes to press the button to kill Alfred, but chooses not to instead. Then the Grim Knight looks at his computer and says, "Computer, give me the whereabouts of Jim Gordon." And the computer shows him that there's been no sightings of Jim Gordon in 6 weeks. Later on, we go to an underground bunker, where Lieutenant Jim Gordon is working on figuring out the case of who the Grim Knight is. Then, after he connected the dots, he says to himself, "I've got you, you piece of shit!" Later on in the Grim Knight's universe, we go to Mayor Harvey Dent's office, where Rupert Thorne is at Harvey's desk. Then Thorne says, "The message I got said it was urgent. I rushed here from the district court." Then Harvey replies, "Thorne, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't call for you." Then suddenly, Lieutenant Jim Gordon comes walking through the door as he says, "I did, and I just killed all the electronics in the building. You can thank me for it later. He has eyes everywhere." Then Harvey says, "Gordon, I thought you were dead." Then Gordon replies, "No, not yet. I need you to sign off on the raid, Dent. I already have the backing of the FBI in Washington." Then Mayor Harvey Dent says, "If you know who Batman is, why not just sneak into his house and end it before he gets wind of what you're doing?" Then Gordon replies, "He has to go down by the book to prove that the book can work. You were a believer, Harvey, before he irradiated your face and you caved into his methods. You helped give him this city, turn it into a weapon. Now's your chance. Now you can break it." Then later on, we go to the Grim Knight's Wayne Manor, where we see Jim Gordon and several members of the GCPD surrounding the Grim Knight's Wayne Manor. Then Gordon says, "Bruce Wayne, come out with your hands up!" Then the Grim Knight's Bruce Wayne walks out of the building and says, "Lieutenant Gordon, you must have me confused for someone else. Do you realize how much money I've donated to the GCPD in the last year alone?" Then Lieutenant Jim Gordon shows the Grim Knight Bruce Wayne a piece of paper that he has from a judge. Then Gordon says, "Yes, that's how you pulled it off. How you put your bugs in everything to control your city. But it's not yours anymore. Our men raided Wayne Enterprises 30 minutes ago. Your bat sentries are being disabled as we speak." Then the Grim Knight Bruce Wayne says, "There really must be some kind of mistake." Then Gordon replies, "No, Bruce. Your butler gave us the kill codes. He's going on the record about everything. There's no coming back from this." We then see the Grim Knight Bruce Wayne pull his gun out at Lieutenant Jim Gordon, but Gordon disarms Bruce, and the two have a fight. But ultimately, Lieutenant Jim Gordon knocks Bruce down. He remembers the fury, the utter humiliation of being disarmed in front of so many. The Grim Knight remembers thinking how many people would die that night, because the order he had brought to his city was gone. His life's work, his greatest weapon, dismantled in front of him. We then see Lieutenant Jim Gordon holding the defeated Grim Knight Bruce Wayne, as Gordon says, "You're under arrest!" We then return to the present day, in our universe, where the Grim Knight holds a gun against Commissioner Jim Gordon's head, as the Grim Knight says, "I convinced him, Jim, the Batman who laughs. I convinced him that his plan was too easy, that it wouldn't satisfy his needs or mine. I wanted you to see what we were going to do to this world, and to know deep down that my way was right, that your laws and morals are meaningless against the horror coming. I wanted you to long for my kind of order, to know it's the only way, but seeing you in the flesh, hearing your voice, you're not him. I don't think you can handle what's coming. I don't think you have it in you." Then Commissioner Jim Gordon looks up and says, "You think I wouldn't have done it all the same as your Gordon? That I wouldn't have run you down if you were terrorizing the people of this city? You're not Batman at all. I can hear it in your voice. You see the city as something to brandish and use. You don't believe in it. You don't believe in anything. That man was Jim Gordon, and so am I. So take your damn vengeance. Prove what you need to prove to yourself. It won't matter. It won't mean anything." Then, just as the Grim Knight is about to shoot Commissioner Jim Gordon, the Batman who laughs walks in and says, "This isn't the way." Then the Grim Knight replies, "He can't face this. He's not the same. Not capable of what we..." Then the Batman who laughs says, "Yes, he's a different Gordon. It's a different world. But he still needs to understand." Then Gordon says, "Why did you stop him? Why wouldn't you of all people want this Grim Knight to take his revenge?" Then the Batman who laughs says, "Is that what you think this is? Revenge? Ha 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 ha! Oh, Jim, you really are a treat. This isn't about revenge, Jim. He's showing you mercy. Because what I have in store for you is far worse than death." And that ends today's story. This has been The Batman Who Laughs #3, The Grim Knight #1 from DC Comics, written by Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV. I'm your host, Kelly One Shot. Take care, have a great day, and goodbye!